be surprised?
No. I would be surprised if he went for a knockout and got one, but I wouldn't be surprised if the elements presented themselves and maybe the kid didn't see the punch and he caught him in the right spot. Anybody could be knocked out then.
Virgil, how excited about your year in boxing? You have a clear path to Trainer of the Year. You're in two and probably three of the biggest fights of the year. As a trainer, how important is this year for your career?
You know, be honest about it, I don't even give it a thought. You know, you let your peers judge you. I didn't get into it for accolades. And I mean, if I did that, I'd never had an Angulo. I'd have never started with a Kareem Mayfield at 22, or Brandon Gonzalez at 23, just coming into the gym. If it was about that, I still wouldn't be working with amateurs if it was about that. I don't need to eat on a fighter. I'm secure, and I really don't think about it.
Since the Angulo fight, which advances have you seen in Canelo since the Angulo fight?
Which what now?
Which advances? Which
as far as where he is improved?
Yeah.
Well, you know, the more you fight and as he ages, he matures. You know, each fight is a growing experience, so I would definitely say he's better now than he was then, most definitely. But I mean, as far as me saying glued to him and watching him, no, I don't do that. But improve, it's inevitable that, you know, it's obvious he's improved quite a bit.
Given this camp, would you be happy for Amir to stay at this weight now? And does that open the door to maybe Golovkin in the future? Or do you want him to move back down?
Hard to say, man. It really is. You just have to deal with this one. I never even gave it a thought, you know. I would be doing him a disservice if I just let my mind wander like that, because I might do it that Saturday night. I got to really be watching this, so, you know, my mind is on what he has to do Saturday night and on him.
Virgil, is Amir real comfortable at this weight? Like you said, he was kind of hard for him to make 47. He seems so confident. Do you think you have to really get in him to not stay in the pocket, like where he thinks he can stand in there because of his confidence in his weight?
Look, you know, when the fight starts, we have a plan, right? If he deviates from the plan, then he has to answer those questions himself if it doesn't work. However, if he's successful on what he senses and feels, and I'm seeing him, I'm gonna be on the same page with him. That's my job, is to try to guide him through, but part of guiding is trusting him also. So we have a basic plan, a very simple plan. If he takes another initiative and he's successful with it, so you say he starts moonwalking and landing uppercuts, then I'm gonna tell him to keep moonwalking and landing uppercuts, okay? Whatever's working, let it work. If it's not working, don't press the issue.
You said yesterday that it was the best camp you ever had. What made that so?
He can eat. You don't have to cut that weight, man. That's you know, that's the next to tying somebody up in a closet, that's the next thing in human cruelty, man. Depriving a person that's got to work out to deprive them of the necessary calories and stuff, you know. So not quite naturally that makes them happy.
How important was Luis Garcia's work with camp for this fight?
I'm sorry?
How important was Luis Garcia's work for this fight?
Luis did a good job. He did a good job for what we had him there for. He did a great job.
Virgil, some people have described this as potentially a make or break fight for Amir Khan. Do you see it that way?
And not at all. This fight is not going to affect the rest of his career because he's not supposed to win. Show me one article where they said he's going to win. Show me one article where they said that he's the favorite. Show me the odds. He's not supposed to win. So no, he has nothing to lose.
What about his heart? I always think of Amir Khan in that 2010 fight against Maidana. Is it underrated? I mean, the fact that he's been knocked down so many times, people want to kind of focus on that.
No, he's got a ton of heart now.
What's the examples that you've seen in camp or you've seen in the course of the fights that has really underlined that to you?
I saw that long before I knew him, that he had heart. You know, sometimes your heart can mislead you, but he got it and he never lost it. He still has it. He's probably one of the only few kids I've seen that's been through what he's been through and still will go back in there and get down with you, you see? So he's immune to that type of stuff. He's got that ticker. He's got that pump in there now. And that's real. He's fearless. He's absolutely fearless.
Virgil, have you guys talked about what happens if he gets hurt in a fight? Because I know you have specific instructions for your fighters when something like that happens and you get knocked down. Have you guys gotten over that and how he should respond so he doesn't get up too fast or do something not supposed to?
Of course. Yeah, it's programmed what to do in certain situations. If they occur, what to do. You know, the first thing he has to do is find me. And he finds me, then we'll communicate. If he doesn't seem to be able to communicate, then there's another plan, so we'll see.
If you win, will you have an Amir Khan weight?
I'm sorry?
If you win, will you have an Amir Khan weight?
Weight?
Yes, like 156.
Hard to say. Hard to say. Real hard to say. It'll be interesting, though, to see what happens. Everything changes.
You will?
Yeah.
You also are mandatory for Garcia, though, right?
Yes.
So whatever you want to do. The world's your oyster.
There you go. Yeah, if he wins, we'll fight Golovkin.
So you talk to this guy all the time. What went into the decision to move up to middleweight? I mean, there had to be a lot of thinking about it.
You know what? And nobody can really dispute what Amir going up to middleweight because he's been looking for a big fight, right? I mean, there are some guys who've been fighting so long, it's hard to get up for a fight sometimes, you know? So he's looking for a challenge, you know? And that's him saying, I wonder how good I really am, you know? And all great athletes do that. That's why you see LeBron in high school, he's not going to go in the summertime and play in the high school gym. He's going to go to Chicago and play with the pros. He want to know how good he is. So that's what he's doing. He's challenging himself. He wants to know when it's really put myself in a dangerous situation with very few people even sitting around this table will do. I want to see how good I am, and I'm willing to put myself in a very dangerous situation to find out.
It's rare in the sport, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
It's kind of rare in the sport, isn't it? I mean, there's times where people...
Yeah, it's rare. It's very rare in the sport. Very rare in the sport. But I think all fighters should do that. I think all of them should challenge themselves. I encourage it, you know, to do it.
Is it a shame that he has to do it, though? Because obviously he wanted to fight Pacquiao, he wanted to fight with Mayweather, they wouldn't fight him. Is it a shame that he has to take this sort of a risk at this stage of his career?
If he fought Pacquiao and Mayweather, he'd be taking the same risk, you know, losing. No matter how you lose, same risk. He could get hurt in those fights. So I don't see any difference, really.
Virgil, do you see it more as a move to junior middleweight as opposed to middleweight? Because they're really not fighting at 160. Canelo's not really a middleweight. Do you kind of more see just one move up as opposed to two?
Canelo is a middleweight. And I don't care what nobody says. He's a middleweight, okay? And I'll just leave it right at that. You guys determine. And when you guys start telling it like it is, it'll be like it is. Until then, I don't even want to talk about that because it's really sad, you know. So I'm not even interested in discussing it. The man got the belt, don't he? He's a middleweight. When they Saturday night say for the middleweight championship of the world, aren't they gonna say that? He's a fucking middleweight. Okay. Excuse my language, kids. I don't want my kids to hear that at the gym, but you know how I can get now. Okay. Yeah.
So when you hear him say to other opponents, to Golovkin, I'm not a middleweight yet, fight me at 155, with you just saying that right now, what do you think of that?
That works both ways too. So Golovkin shouldn't cry about him wanting him to go to 155 because it works both ways. He's made some statements that he hasn't backed up. He's made some statements that they haven't honored. So it goes both ways.
What do you think about Golovkin doesn't want to fight Andrew Ward?
I don't even think about it. I don't even care. We'll take the victory on the plate, okay? You want to give it to us on the plate, we'll take it. Well, Sun Tzu says the best general is the one to get the other army to concede without a shot being fired. So not one punch was thrown, and so they conceded. As simple as that.
How does that statement goes both ways, the 155? Golovkin did make the statement that he would go up to 168 to fight Ward at the time, a few years back.
You know how it works. You guys can't lead me on now. I'm not going to go for that one. You know how it works. You print it, but you print it. But you're not going to lead me on, okay? You know what I'm talking about. But you put it in your words, don't put it in mine, okay? You know what I'm talking about. So why should I feed these questions when you're not going to ask the questions yourself and demand the questions. I watched 5 years the media pushing Pacquiao on Mayweather. 5 years. But right here, all of a sudden, they stopped. So you gotta answer that one. And I'm not being disrespectful.
No, I know.
Okay.
I understand. So there are double standards in the way fighters are treated here, Virgil.
Are there double standards?
Yeah, the way fighters are treated.
Well, you know,
by the media and
if you do your boxing history, you'll get the boxing answers to about all of that, you know. If you do your boxing, if you know your boxing history, if you go back from the very beginning of pugilism with gloves on in the United States, you'll know all about that. You'll know more than what I can tell you. You know, I can tell you something just in a second or two, but if you take the time and go back, you'll know the history of it. So, and then you can not only ask the question, you'll have some answers and solutions.
Speaking of history, I believe Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev divides the racial line. I wasn't around when Max Smelling fought Joe Louis, but I write for Black Press. It is very important that Andre Ward, not in addition wins, but acknowledges the racial divide and the racial tension that's current today in boxing. I know he shied away from it after he beat up Guerrero, but I couldn't say it enough that I'm rooting for Andre Ward as best I can because of Sergey Kovalev's past. And I just think, can you add more to that if you can, or you want to? I know your position, but can you add more?
Well, first of all, Andre is very astute and shrewd when it comes to the boxing business. And he was raised around people, me, that gave him two perspectives of it all. And one of the perspectives is, you know, quite obvious, but I think when he doesn't answer, it's because he doesn't have anything personal against Kovalev, just like Joe Louis didn't have nothing personal against Smelling. You see, it was other people who instigated that. So he's shrewd enough to know that if I'm going to speak in an arena that's got racial overtones, then I have to make sure that when I speak that it's just not for that moment, but it's going to have an impact that carries over from this point on in the future and make a difference. If it's not going to make a difference, then why should I speak? For an example, he gave a roundtable here on all this issues that went back with Goosen and everything else. But nobody printed it. Nobody wrote about it. So he understands what's going on. You here to ask him some questions. After that, nobody challenges it because he understands who is free to report what they want to report and write what they want to write. And he understands who's got a muzzle on them. And he understands who gets paid to say it. He understands all of that. So he's not going to feed into that, you understand? But I'm sure if you talk to him one-on-one, you see what I'm saying? He might tell you a few things if he could be confident that there would be between you and him and that you came to make a difference. Not just ask him the question, but ask him the questions in order to make a difference. I'm sure he would sit down and talk to you. Yeah. That's it? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.